was 17, I ran away from home and from everything I had ever known. I was sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me, their children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed just for being born. I was just a boy, punished for a crime that was not mine.
Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in to A Spoonful of Comfort. I'm Claudrine Jackson, your host for A Spoonful of Comfort. And I'm here to remind us, you and me, that we all have comfort that we can share. And now is the time that we need to share comfort. Not only comfort, but peace and love, and those things are free and they're very easy for us to give to people. I know that comfort, peace, and love everybody believes in, but sometimes they're hard to remember to share. We're trying to put a little positive energy into the world. I'm going to share one of my poems with you called Positive Energy. I've shared it before, but I want to share it again. How would it be if we could see positive energy? The energy that is the key to set us free and keep us young and well and strong and help us bloom our whole life long. Would it be bright like a light to help us make it through the night? Would it sparkle and shine like silver and gold? Would it reveal a lie we've been told? Would it make sunshine in our soul and keep us warm and help us grow?
We're here in downtown Lafayette,
Would it
where
lift
everyone's
us up
excited
above the
about the
fray
new dance that's sweeping
and
the
give
nation.
us the strength to find our way? I know you may be tired of me speaking of this energy, but wouldn't it be nice to see? It's nice for those of us who can share positive energy to share positive energy. There's so much negative energy out in the universe now that those of us that have positive energy, it's time for us to speak, which is why I decided to speak about positive energy. I'm the author of Inspired by Autism, a book about my experiences raising my son who has a handicap. It could be inspired by a challenge because people with other challenges have told me that Inspired by Autism has helped them with some of their challenges. Also, I'm the author of Let There Be Light, which is a book of poems that I wrote years ago. Let There Be Light is not for sale anymore, but Inspired by Autism is for sale, and it's for sale right here at WHPR. Also, I have a blog, so I have my third book is on the internet. It's on my blog, and it's also called A Spoonful of Comfort. So if you need a spoonful of comfort, remember, somebody else needs a spoonful of comfort. So can you help spread comfort? Also, today, we're starting to call in. So if you have some comfort you want to share, or if you have a question or a comment, please don't hesitate to call in. I would love to hear from you. I would love to know whether anybody's watching, anybody's listening. Like I say, if you call in, you don't necessarily have to agree with me. If there's something I've said that you disagree with, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We don't have to see eye to walk hand in hand. So I would appreciate hearing from you out there. Your comfort for today is the scripture, Romans 8:18. The sufferings of today are not worthy to be compared to the glory that God will reveal in you, in us. So sometimes our sufferings are for a reason. Norman Vincent Peale, one of my favorite authors, one of the things that he said in one of his publications is that our sufferings are the darkness and the soil that we have been planted in in order to grow and ripen. Another theory about suffering is that life, period. Our crying is the rain in life. Our smiles are the sunshine in life. And the mess that we take off of people is our fertilizer. So remember, it's all for a purpose. And they say that all things work together for the good for those that love the Lord. The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever is happening may be happening for a reason. When you're going through it and you can't figure out why is this happening to me, there could be a reason. It could be to help you become a better person. We never know, but we know that no one is going to get through life without a challenge. Just when I thought I had overcome all of my challenges in life, along came a son with a handicap. So there were more challenges. But I want to remind you too about faith. Suppose we are upset. I'm upset about the present political climate and what's going on. But Isaiah 43:19 says, "Behold, I do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Do you not know it?" So maybe God is about to do a new thing. Maybe this is the dark before the dawn. We don't know. But faith and hope has us to believe that things are going to change. And you can't say what God can't do. And you can't think that nothing can happen to make things for the better. The 6th chapter of Matthew talks about this a lot. But I'll just talk about one of the verses, Matthew 6:30, where the Lord says that if he takes care of the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, why would he not take care of us? And he says, "O ye of little faith." And at a time that I read that, my faith was very low. But that's the thing about faith and love and hope. It's limitless. Even when you think you don't have any, you may still have it. Also, sometimes when things are going bad and God is not working, you think because it's not visible, there may be a great result being done in the invisible. God, it might not be visible to you at the moment, but there may be a good work being done in the invisible. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be back in a minute. But remember, tune in on Tuesdays at 1:30 for a spoonful of comfort. Also, call in and offer us some comfort. So, see you on the other side of the break. Stick and stay and don't go away. Thank you.
When I was 17, I ran away from home and from everything I had ever known. I was sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me.
Thanks for sticking with me. Claudrine Jackson is my name, and a spoonful of comfort. Trying to offer a spoonful of comfort. One of the things that I wanted to do today is to thank the many, many people who have worked with my son and others like him. I'm talking about social workers and psychologists and therapists and speech therapists, occupational therapists. Although speech therapy didn't work for my son, but we've got people like this who are working with people like my son and people like me. And I wanted to say thank you. I appreciate all that you have done. In fact, if it wasn't for school social workers and psychologists, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here. I learned from you. I learned how to be calm because I was always in a panic. I learned how to be positive. I learned that my son was worth my time. If you were putting in all the time and energy with him that you were, then he was worth my time. You know, we're in a survival of the fittest society. Everything has to be the biggest and the best and the brightest and all that. And then when someone like my son comes along who does not fit that, I was very, very depressed and very upset for years, but it was working with the psychologists, social workers. You all taught me. You all taught me the way to handle a person like my son, and that is that he too is a child of God, and that God expects those of us who are more fortunate to help with the ones that are less fortunate. And here I was thinking I was such a great person and had this less fortunate person right under my nose and didn't know what to do. Well, you all taught me that what I do is develop whatever potential he has. He did not have the potential to do a lot of things that I wanted him to do, so my job was just to develop whatever potential he had. In fact, it was a school social worker, Charlotte Warren, who came to my house back. PJ was 6 or 7 years old. This was either in 81 or 82. And I was very depressed about my situation. But I was tired of being depressed. And now I wanted to get myself back on my feet because was flat on my back, not actually, but in my mind. So Charlotte Warren, the school social worker, came to the house, and in the course of our conversation, she mentioned to me that Dr. Ingrid Draper, who was then the director of special ed for Detroit Special Education Department, that Dr. Ingrid Draper had a parent advisory committee and that she wanted someone else for her advisory committee. So Miss Warren recommended me to Dr. Draper. Dr. Draper called me, and I started talking to her, and it amazed me that how much she cared. That's all I needed to know, that someone cared. Because, you know, our children, and I guess the reason I keep speaking for our people is because they are the throwaway people. They are the invisible people. They are the people that can't speak for themselves. But after I started working with Dr. Draper and being on her parent advisory committee, she asked parents for advice. She actually took our advice. And this is coming from a lot of people in the medical profession would say, this is what you're always going to see. What your child is doing now, and PJ was flapping and jumping and going gee, gee, gee. This is what you're always going to see. So I was very depressed about that. They said he can't be cured. He's always going to be this way. But then the educators were saying, we can't get him from point A to point Z, but we can get him from A to D, E, F. We can accomplish something with him. Well, the doctors had already told me nothing could be accomplished. So I went along with what they said they could do, but they proved to me what they could do. And one of the first things they did was toilet training him. He started in a preschool, a school for children with emotional impairments, and his teacher taught him, toilet trained him. And that was something that was really important to me to be done. And I didn't know how she did it, but I learned a lot from her. Her name was Pat Turner. And Pat taught me also about being calm and about being positive and optimistic and always looking at their ability instead of their disability. So to you, social workers, psychologists, I want to say thank you, Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote about you, but I want to remind you of Matthew 25:40, which is that which ye do for the least of my brethren, you do it also unto me. You all taught me that. Also, Galatians 6:9. Be ye not weary in well doing, for in due season ye will reap if you faint not. And I was weary, but I did not know that I would get new energy and new insights and new thoughts and new ways to deal with my child. So I want to thank psychologists, social workers, teachers, uh, in the educational system, because you all are down in the trenches and you're doing a lot of work with them. And I want to read to you a poem that I wrote. It's called Special Educator, but it's for, like I said, speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, everyone, that psychologists, social workers, everyone who is working with people like my son. And this is called Special Educator. Special is as special does, and special you shall be when you care for special people who are not like you and me. You're trying to save the children, and you're doing it with grace and love and dedication and a smile upon your face. You all are special people. You taught me how to see, to look into the inside and let the outside be. Your determination caught me. I can make it if I try. I am learning to be patient. I am learning not to cry. I am learning to be positive. I'll do what I can do. And if I am successful, it's what I've learned from you. I don't know why you do it. I don't know why you care. But I have to tell you how I feel. Thank God that you are there. I'm so thankful for you, and I want you to know that you are making a difference. You've made a difference with me. You're making a difference with a lot of people. I know you don't get many accolades or many thanks, but if I could give you all a medal, I would. But please keep up the good work, and thank you so much. Now, the social workers that helped me make plans and ideas for my child, but the Detroit Special Education Department had not only the staff, the school staff that worked with our people. My son had transportation. He had curb to curb service, and they sent a cab to pick him up. I was just amazed at this. So the cab would pick PJ up, take him to school. This started when he was 3 years old. Detroit Special Ed had a department called Project Find that worked with children that had handicaps, and they started with the ones that their handicap was apparent. They started in the hospital working with them and working with the parents. So PJ would come home in a cab and be picked up in a cab. And that was really a blessing for me. But then one day, the cab dropped PJ off, and I opened the door, except the little boy that came in was not PJ. And this little boy did the exact same thing that PJ did. He went right to the refrigerator, got the juice, and was getting ready to drink some juice. Meantime, I'm trying to catch the cab driver and tell him this is the wrong child. So PJ is sitting in the cab just looking out the window. So after we made the exchange and PJ came in, I thought about it. That's one of the things about living with a person with a handicap such as my son. And when I talk about the things that we go through, I want you to see what it's like living with a person with autism. Here he was at his own house, but he didn't realize that it was his house, and the other little boy didn't realize it wasn't his house. So I thought that was really interesting. Also, PJ was in a program. It was called Damon's House, and Damon was a young man that had autism. His family had a program. So I was over there at lunchtime one day. There were about 12 students in the program, and there were about 12 tables in the lunchroom. Well, each student got their lunch and went and sat at a different table. And I looked at each student at a different table, and I thought, this is an example of autism, because those of us, they call us neurotypical, those of us neurotypical people would have sat at the table with each other. But they each sat at their own table, and they were comfortable doing that. And the people that worked with them allowed them to be comfortable doing that. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all that everyone in the special education system, everyone in the hospitals have done to work with people like that, because of you, I'm sitting here. People like me need people like you, because I was lost and didn't know what to do. But watching you and following your examples taught me that I could be a better mother than what I was being. So I also wanted to mention to you about my thoughts about trying to do something for God, because God has done so much for me that I feel that I owe a debt to God, and it's to try to put out positive energy, to try to share love, and try to share peace and comfort, because I think that's what we need really badly now. And hopefully you all agree and that you're sharing peace and comfort. And I'm going to take another short break, and I will be back with you in a minute. But also don't forget about Mornings with Jesus. It's one of the Guidepost publications, and it's one of my favorite things to do some mornings. It gives you energy for the day. So I'm going to take a break, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Well, thanks for sticking with me. I hope you did stick with me. It's about time for me to wrap up. But I wanted to share with you something else, and this is from Stephen Covey. You know, I've been sharing my favorite authors and my favorite scriptures and my favorite sayings with you. And Stephen Covey said that if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. That made an impact on me, because when you want your situation to change, sometimes you have to change your actions. Norman Vincent Peale said that the attitude is more important than the fact, that whatever the fact is, your attitude about the fact is more important than the actual fact. That you can change your life simply by changing your attitude. And I had to change my attitude about autism. But I thought about the fact that he needed me. He was not the person that I would have chosen, but he needed me. And there are many of us taking care of people. I'm not the only one who's a caregiver. There are many people that I know that are caregivers. And I hope that you all do some caring for yourself, because sometimes we get lost in the shuffle of what we're doing for our person that we're caring for, and don't take care of ourselves. So I want to remind you about A Spoonful of Comfort every Tuesday at 1:30. I want to remind you to think about Inspired by Autism, which is my book. And I have poems in there, but I also have some comics in the back that are true things that PJ really did, such as taking him to the market. I would never take him to the market. And he was always tearing up things and destroying things. But then when he got better and he was more pleasant and more agreeable, I took him to the market. And we're in the market, and he's doing his shopping. And I was letting him get whatever he wanted, but he wanted maxi pads. Well, I no longer had need for them. So I'm trying to take them away from them. He's getting upset. So I finally let him go ahead and keep them. And that's one of the comics that I have in my book, that's not what I expected him to buy, but it's what he bought. So with a person like him, you never could know exactly what to expect. But anyhow, remember, comfort, peace, love, positive energy, and please tune in next week for a Spoonful of Comfort. I love you. God bless you. May the power of God protect you, and may the love of God enfold you. So until next week, thanks for tuning in.